All right, welcome in. Thank you for being here. My name is Coach Henson, Coach Kyle. Call me Mr. Anu, Coach Anu, whatever you prefer. It is up to you how you want to address me, but make sure you do it confidently. We are here today to create a new understanding about yourself. And once we find a new understanding about yourself, then we can start to see how that self fits in your environment. So we can discover if that culture at your job place or in your work environment, again, it could be contractor, you can be mobile person, but whatever environment you in, we want to make sure that you are in the position that you want to be. But your wants and your needs come from two different places. So we want to start off with the wants and needs on the internal side of who you are. So we're going to ask you some questions here. We're going to ask you some questions that are going to help you discover a little bit more about yourself. And then once we have these discoveries, we're going to ask you a few follow-up questions to see if that self you just discovered is in an appropriate setting for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the title of each chapter. I'm going to give you the core question for each chapter. And then we're going to go back and then we're going to ask a few follow-up questions. Now, there are 10 chapters here, and each of these 10 chapters correlate with a course. So if you aren't taking the course already, go ahead and check it out online. We have our websites linked. So you can check out which course you need for yourself. And these questions will help us. If you don't have the answers, take the course. So let's get started. Chapter 1, Discovering the Path. So in this, we're going to be looking at uncovering your motivation. So, core question for you is, what inspired you to seek me out as a holistic coach? Knowing that I'm a holistic coach, I deal with spirituality, the mind, the body, and balance. What made you seek me? What about me attracted me to you? I think that's an important question because it allows you to understand you have choices, and that means you have power. So, what inspired you to search me out, a holistic spiritual coach? All right, awesome. I love that answer. And it does make me feel good too. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. But, I appreciate that because, I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to help myself. And I think exchange is the best way we can do that. All right. So, chapter 2, let's identify some unique skills or some experiences. Okay. All right. So, what unique skills and experiences do you bring to your job? What do you do? What makes you so unique that that job would not be the same if you weren't there? You don't have to stress. No, just to say whatever you need. Again, it is nothing that is right or wrong. It's just us being able to say what we think. And so, as you identify more things because you're saying more, it'll build momentum. And as you're building momentum, understand that is going to give you more information. So, if you don't know all of your skills, that's okay. Let's hear an experience then. There we go. See, that's what we're talking about. That experience, we can now take that and we can break it down because at the end of the day, only you was able to make that experience happen the way that it did. You made an impact. You had an outcome, and you're satisfied with that. And those things can be repeated. All right, let's go on. Nice. I like that. So, chapter 3. Now, since we know a little bit more about who we are, why we seek things, and the experiences we can produce from those ventures. Chapter 3 wants us to see our impact. So, can you describe a moment when you felt you made a significant impact, maybe on your job, maybe a customer at the job, maybe an employee, maybe a coworker, a boss? The idea is, do you have an experience where you know that you made an impact, and can you describe that piece by piece, like a nice story? Let me hear it. That's powerful. That's a wonderful, man, powerful. That's a strong impact. And we're going to use that because, again, when we have that, we got to remember that we also have feelings. So anytime we have a feeling, that means we can associate it with an experience or a moment. And so we have to see these things as equal exchanges. Taking my experiences and finding power within them helps us overcome any challenges because at the end of the day, life is all about challenges. So, chapter 4 is about challenges. What are the main challenges that you currently face right now in your job? Or maybe with yourself that is inhibiting you from enjoying your job. Maybe you like your field of work, but what do you think is the main challenge? Again, we already know we're powerful, but something is stopping us and making us feel like we're weak. So let's see if we can find a main challenge. Again, it doesn't have to be super specific, or it can. It's up to you to describe it. So talk to me. Nice. Yeah, I mean, you're not alone. You're not alone. So, because you're not alone, and because you have a lot of experiences, and because you know that you've made a positive impact, and because you know about your own desires to help yourself, let's integrate this into a little bit more of a self care practice. Now, let's look at that as stress management, but the self care is what we're going to be using to address the challenge indirectly. So, how do you integrate mindfulness and stress management techniques into your daily interactions at your job? You have time, you at lunchtime, you set out time to meditate. I used to do the same, even if it's 5 minutes. Let me just not be here for 5 minutes. Whoo, great. Ah, I feel so much better. That was a nice vacation. Excellent, excellent. That is a good technique. All right. So, because you know you are now stress free, you can manage that a little bit better. When you do manage those stressful situations, do you ever receive any feedback from your coworkers or your environment? Let's just say it doesn't matter who, I mean, even you, but what kind of feedback do you normally receive when you overcome those stressful situations? You don't really get feedback. Well, what kind of feedback do you give to yourself? How do you feel about you? Okay, exactly. See, because even if we don't have anybody around us, we are still ourselves and we're going to continue to be ourselves. And if we're already handling stress, obviously we should want the desire to continue to get better at that stress management. So, in other words, we want to grow through that skill. And so, how do you stay updated on yourself as you're growing and changing? Obviously, you know who you are, but do you know who you are when you change the scenery? So, again, how do you plan on continuing to handle these stressors? What if they get bigger? How do you stay updated? You see coaches like me? Yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, that I ain't mad at you. So, all right. Hey, well, that is good. That's great, actually. And it makes me happy because at the end of the day, it motivates me because I get a chance to help people. And it's not just like helping a child at a school, it's helping somebody who's seeking, hey, can you help me with this? My hand is raised. And that's how I feel you are. And that's why I'm so happy to be here. And that's what motivates me to keep going. But what motivates you? What motivates you to keep going at this job, even if it's making you seek people like me? Are you feeling on the edge of a transition? What motivates you right now? Okay. You're fearful. Okay. You're fearful of the changes. You feel like you have potential. You feel like you're able to do more. But at the same time, you have these fears of not being able to let go. But that's okay. That's okay. I handle my fears specific ways, and that is me allowing them to wash over me, just like time doesn't stop. And so just like a river flowing, it doesn't stop. And so it will never ever be the same. And if I can keep that in my mind, then all my fears can start to move away from me because at the end of the day, I am peaceful. I'm okay. I like where I'm at. So then everything else can just flow. So I know we asked a lot of questions. I know we've been spending a lot of time together. There's just two more core questions. I know we've gotten a little deep here, but the idea is these things come from the depths of us, which eventually become surface level. And the things on the surface normally fall off. So it allows for new birth. And we call this again or a re. And so if we look or we relook, we should be able to see two different things. So when you're handling your fears with a boss versus handling your fears with a subordinate or a trans-level coworker, how do you present your value of said object? Maybe it's a task, maybe it's a project, maybe it's a deadline. But how you present your value on that, even if you're fearful? Do you speak up in meetings? Do you stand up for yourself? Do you put boundaries up with things that are unacceptable? Again, people are afraid to do these things, but the idea is you value something. Do you value it enough to protect it, even if you're afraid? That's what we're looking at with this question. And so when you have that question answered, you should be able to understand how to see yourself a little bit better. So our last chapter is vision for the future. So vision for the future is whatever you decide. Now, since you have this new information, got this new spark within your own self, you got new light. What do you see now? Talk to me. Next 5 years, what do you see yourself? Are you at this job? Are you in this industry? Are you working for yourself? Talk to me. Nice. So I think we've done a great, great job here. And I think that this is a great step forward. And what you need to do now is you need to promote yourself. You need to understand that you are awesome. You're great. You are great. But the greatness that you're showing can be shared. And that shared greatness can come back to you as a great motivational influence. So, what steps can you take to share your success with your coworkers, with your boss, with your network? What can you do to help promote you? Well, I'm going to do similar things. I mean, again, everyone's different. I appreciate you being able to communicate that because I would have never thought about that. So that's an excellent way to do so. I'll practice it too. And then when we come back together, we'll be able to converse and see how it's working and what strategies we can use to approach it moving forward. So excellent job here. I think you did amazing. I think what you're doing is a great step forward to understanding yourself and where you fit in different organizations. And remember, if you are not comfortable with how you can interact with overcoming your fears and then promoting yourself and that value that you put on yourself, that's probably a good indication that your environment isn't valuing you neither. So let's make sure that we can properly see ourselves and then we can have the courage to make the steps, to take the steps, and to see ourselves on the other side of the steps. All right. Appreciate you for being here. Thank you always. See you next time. Bye bye.